Welcome to the Inner Ascent and today's episode of the podcast. In this journey, we explore one of the most intriguing frontiers of human consciousness: out-of-body experiences. Are they purely a trick of the brain or a gateway to hidden dimensions of reality? Join us as we dive into the science, the history, and the practice of OBEs, and discover what it means to step beyond the limits of the physical body.
Have you ever had one of those moments right after waking up from a really, really vivid dream?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Where the lines between, the dream and reality just blur completely.
Yeah.
And you're left wondering, okay, which one is real for a second?
Totally. Or that feeling of falling just as you're drifting off.
Exactly. That sudden jolt, that little flicker between states.
Uh-huh.
Well, now imagine something, far more profound. An experience where your consciousness actually seems to detach completely, observing your physical body from, outside.
Right.
This isn't just a dream we're talking about. It's, according to our sources, a natural human thing that...
Well, it genuinely challenges our deepest ideas about reality itself. Okay, so let's unpack this. Today, we're really embarking on a truly mind-bending deep dive. Out-of-body experiences, OBEs. You've sent us an incredible stack of sources, really amazing stuff, personal journals from pioneers like Robert Monroe, really compelling scientific analyses too.
And those deep philosophical discussions, connecting ancient ideas with modern physics. Absolutely. So our mission is clear. We're going to meticulously explore the reality of these experiences, try to demystify the how-to, maybe.
Yeah, the practical side.
Dissect the science, the arguments for and against, and really uncover the profound implications. What happens when consciousness seems to just operate independently of the body?
And what's so fascinating here, I think, is how these experiences, which, let's be honest, are often dismissed pretty quickly, right, as hallucinations or just tricks of the mind.
Right, brushed off.
Yeah. But they're actually forcing some of the biggest questions in science and, frankly, spirituality, too, right to the forefront. We're not just recounting weird stories here.
No.
We'll be looking at what people actually experience with incredible consistency across accounts and the surprisingly practical, repeatable techniques people use to consciously induce these states.
That's a key point, the induction.
And critically, how these deep dives into the non-physical might just radically redefine how we understand consciousness, reality itself, and maybe even who we are.
Exactly. Our aim with this deep dive isn't just to tell you about OBEs. We want to cut through the mystery, the hype sometimes, and give you a really comprehensive understanding.
Grounded in the sources.
Totally. We'll connect those astonishing personal stories with the science, the ancient wisdom, weave it all together. So get ready to have your perceptions challenged a bit, not by speculation, but by this rich tapestry of experience and research that you've given us.
Okay, so where do we start? Let's nail down the definition first. What exactly is an out-of-body experience, or OBE?
Good starting point.
Well, this specific term, OBE, it was actually coined by Robert Monroe. You mentioned him, a real pioneer in systematically looking at this stuff.
Right, he wanted something neutral.
Precisely. He deliberately chose OBE to step away from older terms like astral projection or soul travel. Those came with a lot of, religious or occult baggage.
Belief systems attached?
Exactly. So an OBE, fundamentally, is just an experience where your consciousness perceives from a perspective outside your physical body. Simple as that, definition-wise.
And it's important to stress, right, that even the skeptics we looked at, they mostly agree the experience itself is real. People genuinely feel like they're separate.
Oh, absolutely. The subjective experience is rarely disputed. People report seeing, feeling, perceiving as if they are separate. The debate is all about why. What's causing it? Interpretations vary wildly, obviously. But interestingly, the term out-of-body itself isn't without its critics. Thomas Campbell, whose work we'll definitely get into more.
Yeah, the VR model guy.
That's the one. He suggests out-of-body is actually a bit imprecise because it kind of implies consciousness is in the body and then projects out.
Like a little man leaving the cockpit.
Right. But his perspective, which is gaining traction, is that consciousness isn't really inside the body to begin with, not in that contained way.
Okay, so what is an OBE then, in his view?
It's more like a radical shift in the perspective of consciousness. Your usual focal point, your locus of awareness just moves.
Ah, so it's not projecting out, it's shifting where it's looking from.
Exactly. Think of your consciousness like this. Diffuse field. Normally, it's intensely focused through your physical senses, your brain, giving you that feeling of being in your body. And OBE is when that focus shifts. The lens moves, and you can perceive from somewhere else an external point. It's subtle, but it completely changes the game, doesn't it?
Yep.
Challenges that basic assumption about being in our bodies.
That reframing is huge, actually. Locus of awareness. I like that. It immediately opens up possibilities. And before this shift happens, before the locus moves, many people report something really distinct, often incredibly intense.
The gateway state.
Yeah, what we call the vibrational state. It's almost universal in the accounts, a signal that separation is coming. Can you describe that?
Yeah, imagine your whole body experiencing intense vibrations, like a high-frequency internal tremor. Sometimes there's a buzzing sound or even a deafening roar that feels like it's everywhere, inside and out.
Sounds pretty alarming.
It can be.
Yeah.
People report deep numbness too, electrical tingling, and this really unsettling feeling that their body and mind are literally vibrating apart.
Wow. Okay.
It does sound terrifying, right? And
Yeah.
often it is, the first few times.
We have that quote from Adventures Beyond the Body, the unnamed author. How did they put it?
Yes. They describe being shaken awake by intense vibrations and a roaring sound throughout my body. It feels like I'm in the middle of a jet engine and my body and mind are about to vibrate apart.
Middle of a jet engine.
Yeah, that captures it. And initially, that fear just snaps you back, right?
Often, yeah. It's an overwhelming sensation. But with practice, experiencers learn to recognize it. It becomes a signal, a cue that the gateway is opening, and they learn not to panic, maybe even to encourage it. And Monroe described it too, didn't he? How did his experience evolve?
He did. He initially felt it as a surge that seemed to be in my head. And it changed over time. Early on, it was rough and shaking, quite unpleasant. But as he learned to work with it, it became a sense of warmth. As the frequency increased, he learned to control it.
And he did that experiment. The Faraday cage one, that's wild.
That is really fascinating. He reported experiencing these vibrations even inside a specially built charged Faraday cage.
Which should block electromagnetic field.
Exactly. And what was striking was his observation. While he was out of body inside the charged cage, he couldn't move through the charged walls. Impossible.
Okay.
But when they turned the charge off, he could pass right through them.
Whoa. So that implies
Well,
some kind of interaction.
it strongly suggests it, doesn't it? It pushes past just being a hallucination. It hints at some kind of energetic resonance, an interaction between that non-physical state and actual electromagnetic fields. It's tantalizing. It really is. That Faraday cage story, even if anecdotal, it really makes you pause and think beyond just brain chemistry. It suggests this energetic quality, a different frequency maybe?
Yeah.
And after that intense vibrational state,
Yeah.
what happens next? The separation itself. It's often described with amazing consistency too.
Oh.
Usually a feeling of floating, effortlessly moving up and out, total weightlessness, and often a deep sense of calm washes over you the moment the vibrations stop.
Ah, so the scary part ends and peace begins?
Often, yes. That author from Adventures Beyond the Body, again, they detail floating several feet above their body. And they specifically note the buzzing noise and vibrations immediately subside after complete separation, replaced by a serene feeling of calm.
Like being released.
Exactly. Freedom from gravity for the body's limits. And Monroe, he developed his own technique, right? The rolling out one.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
He'd mentally focus on turning over in bed, just like you normally would. But he'd keep his physical body still. He'd focus the intent to roll, and eventually he'd detach, finding himself maybe floating or sometimes standing in his hallway looking back at his sleeping form.
Just popped out by rolling mentally? Wow. What does that do to you psychologically, seeing yourself like that?
It must be incredibly jarring, world-altering. It fundamentally challenges your sense of self and reality.
Totally. And once you are separate, the perception itself, that's where it gets really interesting, right? The sensory experience in this non-physical state. It's vivid, but different.
Very different. Let's talk vision first. People often say it's blurry initially.
Yeah, or foggy, out of focus, like looking through water sometimes. But here's the fascinating bit. Many discovered they could consciously demand clarity.
Demand it? How?
Like that Adventures Beyond the Body author, they got frustrated with the blurriness and just instinctively shouted mentally, clarity now, and boom, vision instantly snapped into perfect, sharp focus, like flipping a switch with their mind.
Wow, so thought directly controls perception there.
Seems like it. It highlights the immediate power of focused intent in that state. And it's not just vision. What about touch?
Touch is paradoxical. The non-physical body often feels, according to reports, amazingly solid. Yet it has this inherent vibrational quality.
Solid but vibrating. Okay.
And Monroe, in one of his most famous and, frankly, controversial experiments,
The pinching one.
the pitching one, he claimed he could touch his own non-physical self, feel its form. But even more startlingly, he reported deliberately pinching his sleeping friend, R.W.,
While he was out of body.
while he was out of body.
Oh.
And she physically jumped, apparently said, ow, in her sleep. And later, when awake, she confirmed feeling it, even told him not to pinch so hard next time.
That's hard to explain away as just hallucination, isn't it? If true.
It's one of those pieces of evidence that really makes you question the purely subjective model. But other senses are different, right?
Totally different. Breathing. Apparently completely unnecessary. Temperature. Non-existent sensation. Hearing is often reported as similar to physical hearing, maybe clearer sometimes. But taste seems to be absent.
So some senses remain, others vanish, others change.
And the key insight experiencers gain is that all these non-physical senses seem to be created and controlled by the mind. You shape your sensory reality with thought.
Which ties back to the clarity now command.
Exactly. And Monroe's early maps of this, he called the immediate environment locale I, looked a lot like the physical world, but off.
Off how?
Subtle things, maybe the walls in his room were yellow instead of white, or an antique table stood where his modern one should be. Familiar, yet altered. Thought responsive, maybe.
A slightly distorted mirror of the physical, perhaps influenced by expectation or stray thoughts. Fascinating. Okay, so we have these incredible subjective accounts, the feelings, the perceptions, even some potentially evidential stuff like the pinching. But let's pivot to the science. What are the attempts to explain this shift from a neurological perspective?
Right, the brain side of things.
Neuroscience has definitely tried to get a handle on this. Susan Blackmore's work is really prominent here. She's looked extensively at how OBE-like sensations can actually be induced by stimulating a specific brain region.
Which region is that?
The right temporoparietal junction, or TPJ.
TPJ. Okay, what does that do normally?
Think of it as your brain's cartographer for your body. It's constantly building and maintaining this 3D mental model of where your body parts are, how you're oriented in space, your body schema.
Like my internal GPS for my limbs.
Pretty much. And the TPJ is crucial for integrating sensory information to maintain that map. So when scientists artificially stimulate that area, using TMS or electrodes.
TMS being transcranial magnetic stimulation.
Right. It seems to disrupt that mapping process. It scrambles the GPS, basically. And that can lead to feelings of dissociation, disorientation, or that distinct feeling of floating outside your body.
So messing with the body map makes you feel like you've left the map area.
That's a good way to put it. And Blackmore points to experiments like video ergo sum. Remember the rubber hand illusion?
Yeah, where you start feeling a rubber hand is yours if you see it stroked while your real hand is stroked out of sight.
Exactly. Video ergo sum takes it further. Participants see their own back being stroked on a video feed from a camera behind them while feeling the actual stroking. When the visual and tactile are in sync, the visual often wins. People report feeling like they've shifted backward closer to where the camera is, identifying more with the image than their physical location.
Wow, vision overrides body sense.
And get this, later studies show that when people are under this illusion, their physiological stress response to a threat like seeing a knife approach their real body is reduced.
So they feel less threatened because they feel less in their body.
Precisely. They also show a drop in skin temperature and report less pain when identifying with the virtual body. Blackmore suggests this means OBEs could be, neurologically, a powerful coping mechanism. The brain creates a mental escape from unbearable pain or trauma.
A psychological safety valve?
Could be. And things like tunnel vision, common in OBEs and NDEs, that can be linked neurologically to disinhibition. When certain brain cells, inhibitory neurons, are affected by, say, lack of oxygen, psychedelics, or shock, other areas can become hyperactive, potentially causing those visual effects.
So Blackmore's conclusion is basically, it's all in the brain.
Her primary conclusion, based on this evidence, is that these are neuronal brain-based phenomena, generated internally. But, to be fair, she also acknowledges they could be profound teaching experiences, leading to feelings of oneness, so it's not entirely dismissive of the impact.
Okay, that's a strong case from neuroscience. But it doesn't feel like the whole story when you look at everything else, does it?
It certainly accounts for a lot of the sensations. But you're right, our sources also present this completely different viewpoint, the counter-argument.
Which is?
That consciousness isn't just a byproduct of brain activity, that it's fundamental, primary.
The brain as a receiver, not the generator.
Exactly. The brain is the radio, consciousness is the broadcast signal it tunes into. And Thomas Campbell's virtual reality model is such a helpful analogy here.
Right. Break that down for us again.
He asks us to imagine our reality, the whole universe, our bodies, as a super advanced, immersive VR game.
Okay, I'm with you.
There's a massive server that's the ultimate source consciousness, existing totally outside this physical reality, like a game server is outside the game world.
The fundamental reality.
Then there's the player. That's us.
Yeah.
Our individual consciousness, making choices, driving the avatar.
And the avatar is our physical body in the game.
Precisely. So the huge implication is, if the server is outside the game, then we, the players, our consciousness, are also fundamentally outside this physical reality. Connected? Yes. Experiencing it? Yes. But not contained by it.
So an OBE isn't leaving the body, it's just remembering you were never entirely in it in the first place. Shifting focus from the avatar back to the player state.
That's a great way to summarize Campbell's view. And what we call the universe is just one VR simulation, one beta stream among potentially countless others. Darius J. Wright echoes this, doesn't he?
He does. He calls consciousness the dictator of the universe, says the soul has ultimate expression not limited by the physical. And he had that vision. Earth as one of many creations stacked on God's shelves.
Like dominoes, yeah. Implying multiple realities, maybe with different rules.
And this idea isn't just philosophical woo-woo, is it? It connects to quantum physics.
Absolutely. Many prominent physicists, David Bohm, Eugene Wigner, Stapp, von Neumann, others lean towards interpretations where consciousness plays a fundamental role in reality. The consciousness creates reality idea.
Where things don't really solidify until observed.
In essence, yes, Bohm talked about the implicate order, a deeper reality from which our physical world unfolds. Wigner famously said you can't fully formulate quantum mechanics without referencing consciousness, calling it an ultimate reality.
So the very study of matter points back to mind.
It's a profound loop. It suggests the universe might be fundamentally participatory, interwoven with consciousness at its core. It's a stark contrast to the purely brain-based model. It really is. And if we accept this consciousness primary view, or even just entertain it, it leads directly to the concept of a multidimensional reality.
More than just the physical world we see.
Exactly. Our sources consistently suggest the universe isn't just this one physical layer. It's composed of multiple realms, dimensions, call them what you will, existing at different frequencies or densities, all coexisting right here, right now, mostly invisible to our physical senses.
Like layers of an onion or different radio stations broadcasting in the same space.
Good analogies. It paints a picture of reality that's vastly more complex and rich than we normally think. And Monroe's explorations gave us a kind of map, didn't they? His locales.
Right, locali was the first stop.
Locali, the immediate non-physical zone. Looks a lot like the physical, but with those weird differences, yellow walls, different furniture. Monroe even called our physical world just the molecular epidermis layer of this larger multidimensional reality.
Just the skin on the outside, wow.
But beyond locale seconds, things get
Right.
weirder, much less familiar. Locale second he described as vast, often incomprehensible, containing elements we might associate with heaven and hell.
Heaven and hell. Seriously.
In terms of the emotional states and entities encountered, yes. He said it's inhabited by a huge variety of beings, and crucially, physical time just doesn't operate there as we know it.
And he said the areas nearest us were kind of rough.
Yeah. He described the closest parts of locality second as being peopled for the most part with insane or near insane, emotionally driven beings.
Yikes.
He had some genuinely terrifying encounters there. Things he called suckers that seemed to feed on emotional energy, rubbery entities, animalistic beings driven by pure instinct.
Not exactly a walk in the park.
Definitely not in those regions. He also saw groups of humans who seemed dazed, confused, lost in park-like settings, maybe people stuck after death, or even people alive but trapped in negative states during sleep or under influence.
Plausible within that model. So locale the second is chaos and strong emotions.
Largely, especially the lower or nearer regions. But then there's locale the third.
What's that like?
Much more organized, more structured.
Yeah.
He described human-like inhabitants, societies, even self-powered vehicles like old rowing wagons, different customs, different histories.
Almost like parallel Earths.
Kind of. And he reported some incredible things there, like merging with someone living there, an I, as he called them, temporarily inhabiting their body, accessing their memories, their emotions.
Merging consciousness, that's profound.
It is. And he also met helpful beings, helpers, a wise host, offering guidance. So it wasn't all negative entities, a whole spectrum exists.
And this ties back to Wright's vision of multiple creations.
It fits perfectly. Earth as one construct among many, possibly with different rules about remembering divinity. And Anna Marie Adams, the end-of-life doula.
She mentioned that shift in the room.
Yeah, a palpable shifting of the air when someone is close to death. An energetic change, a preparation for moving into these other dimensions. It all paints this picture of a vast, dynamic, populated, non-physical cosmos alongside our own.
Okay, so if consciousness is primary, if thought creates reality in these realms, what does that mean for actually doing this, for practical application?
It means thought is everything. It's not just internal chatter, it's the engine. In non-physical states, focused thought creates instant results.
Like think fly and you fly.
Exactly. Think walk through wall, and you do. No delay, no physical laws holding you back. That Adventures Beyond the Body author realized this quickly. Thoughts were the energy of personal propulsion.
Propulsion, like a rocket fueled by thought.
Precisely. And they stress that conscious, deliberate control right after separation is crucial. Those simple commands worked. Control now for mastery. Clarity now for vision.
My intent has to be sharp.
Very sharp. Your focus will is the command language. And Darius Wright talks about tuning into intuition, doing what feels good to align with your soul's expression. He framed unconditional love not just as a feeling, but a core creative force.
A weapon against barriers, he called it?
Yeah, a powerful creative energy. While fear does the opposite, it blocks you, cuts you off from that field. So the implication for everyday life is huge, isn't it? How we manage our thoughts here might be practice for navigating there. It absolutely forces you to reconsider the power and responsibility of thought, even here where the effects seem slower. That immediacy in OBEs just strips away the illusion of separation between thought and manifestation.
Okay, so for people wanting to try this, wanting to explore, what are the practical steps, the techniques from the sources?
Preparation is key first. Find a quiet, dark place where you won't be interrupted. Ideally, not your regular bed, maybe a dedicated exploration space. Helps create a mental trigger.
Set the stage.
Exactly. Then the most common method starts with getting into that borderland sleep state. Lie down when you're naturally tired, but keep your mind gently focused on something, a sound, a feeling, an image.
The hypnagogic state, that tricky edge between awake and asleep.
That's the one. It takes practice to hold it without falling fully asleep or waking fully out. But sustaining that state creates the ideal conditions.
And then come the vibrations.
Often, yes. And you can actively encourage them. Use mental direction. Imagine sweeping them through your body, head to toe, toe to head, rhythmically. Monroe noted the initial rate was around 27 cycles per second.
Can you change the frequency?
Apparently, yes. You mentally pulse them, intend for them to increase. The goal is to smooth out that rough, shaky feeling into a steady, powerful hum.
Okay, vibrations humming.
Right.
Then what? How do you actually separate?
Several ways. Monroe's rotation trick, mentally rolling over without moving physically, or the simple lift-out thought, just gently willing yourself up and out.
Just intending to float up.
Sometimes that's all it takes, especially once the vibrations are strong. And after separation, remember, conscious control. Clarity now, control now. Be specific.
Because the mind takes things literally, like that author asking for full waking consciousness and snapping back to their physical body.
Exactly. Waking was interpreted as physical waking. So precision matters. And getting back, usually just thinking yourself back, intending to return, maybe stretching your non-physical limbs works.
The advice is to practice short trips first, out and back.
Definitely. Stay close to the body initially. Build confidence. Learn the controls. Make sure re-entry is smooth.
Now, what about people who struggle with the mental focus or getting into that state? That's where things like hemisync come in, right?
Right. For those finding the initial stages tricky, technologies like hemisync offer a potential shortcut. It's Monroe's patented audio tech using binaural beats.
Explain binaural beats again.
Sure. You place slightly different sound frequencies into each ear through headphones. Say 100 hertz on the left, 108 hertz on the right.
Okay.
Your brain doesn't hear two tones. It perceives a third phantom beat at the difference frequency, 8 hertz in this case.
An auditory illusion created in the brain.
Exactly. And by choosing specific difference frequencies, hemisync aims to gently guide your brainwaves into desired states, alpha for relaxation, theta for deep meditation, and OBEs, delta for sleep, etc.
So it's like tuning your brainwaves with sound.
That's the idea. Helping people reach states quickly that might otherwise take experienced meditators years to achieve reliably. Remember that story about the Buddhist monks?
Yeah, they visited Monroe's lab, tried hemisync, and said it put them in the same deep meditative state it took them decades of practice to reach.
That's the account. Pretty powerful endorsement. And the reported benefits are broad. Relaxation, stress reduction, pain management, creativity boosts, better intuition, apparently even more reliable remote viewing, and of course making OBEs easier to achieve.
Sounds like a useful tool, especially for beginners.
It can be very helpful, like training wheels, as Thomas Campbell put it. Great for getting a feel for the state, if you're not a seasoned meditator, helps you access that theta state quickly.
But there's a downside, a caution.
Campbell argues that relying on them too much can limit your exploration. It kind of locks you in to that specific theta state induced by the beats.
So it helps you get there, but might restrict where you can go from there.
Potentially. It gives you the state, but maybe not the full flexibility and freedom you get from mastering conscious control yourself. Useful training wheels, but eventually you want to ride the bike freely.
Makes sense. Aim for independence eventually. Which brings us back to the biggest hurdle for most people.
Fear, almost universally cited as the main obstacle. Fear, worry, doubt.
The fear barrier. And it's often tied to the fear of death, isn't it? Because separation feels like dying.
Exactly. That primal fear kicks in, triggers an automatic get back in the body, NOW, reaction, and boom, experience over.
Monroe himself struggled with this massively.
Hugely. He said it took him 18 or 20 times before he could overcome the panic enough to stay out for more than a few seconds and actually observe things.
Wow, 18 to 20 attempts just to overcome the initial terror.
And he described that awful time he couldn't get back, felt plastered against the barrier, panicking, crying, even prayer not working immediately. That highlights how real the fear can be.
But Wright's perspective offers some comfort there.
A lot of comfort. He emphasizes nothing could touch your soul. That fear is rooted in the unknown of this realm, the illusion of separation. If you truly grasp your ultimate authority, your divine nature, the fear loses its grip.
Okay, let's talk about some of those moments that seem to go beyond subjective feeling, the potentially evidential stuff. Monroe's verifiable observations are pretty compelling, aren't they?
They really are. He was meticulous about recording things he saw out of body and then trying to verify them later, like the time he observed his friend Agnew Banson miles away.
What did he see?
He saw Banson loading a Van de Graaff generator, a specific piece of equipment, into his car. He also saw Mrs. Banson dealing cards at breakfast, which turned out to be male, and details about their son's new interest in baseball, which Monroe hadn't known about.
And he confirmed all this later.
Yes, the details checked out. Specific, verifiable information obtained while seemingly out of body.
And the meeting with the 4 women.
Right. He attended this non-physical meeting, perceived details about 2 women there who were strangers to him, their clothes, what they were doing, got it confirmed later by phone.
These aren't just vague feelings, they're specific data points.
Exactly. And then there's the pinch experiment with RW. That's maybe the most direct physical interaction reported.
Remind us again.
He's out of body, deliberately focuses intent, pinches her side. She physically reacts in her sleep jumps, says, ow, confirms the feeling later.
It's hard to wave that away as coincidence or dream interpretation.
It's certainly one of the most cited pieces suggesting interaction. And the Adventures Beyond the Body author's pencil experiment.
Trying to move a pencil with their non-physical body.
Yeah. What they found wasn't just about moving it, but that their ability to even see the pencil clearly, let alone interact, depended on the vibrational frequency or density of their own non-physical body.
So it wasn't just about affecting the physical world, but about tuning into the right frequency to interact.
Exactly. It led them to conclude they weren't necessarily in the exact physical room, but a non-physical counterpart, where their own state determined what was real or interactable, another layer of complexity. And these evidential hints lead us right back into exploring those diverse realms and the entities people encounter, going way beyond locale first.
Back to locale a second, the potentially rough neighborhood.
Yeah, especially those nearest areas. Monroe's descriptions are stark. Insane or near insane, emotionally driven beings, those suckers, the rubbery entities, the animalistic fighters.
He had that really intense fight story, didn't he?
Oh yeah, a silent, terrifyingly fast struggle. Something moving from nerve center to nerve center in his non-physical body, applying awful pressure. He had to fight back savagely, instinctively, and only ended it by forcing the battle back towards his physical body and dropping in.
Chilling. It really sounds like a lower astral plane or something from folklore.
The descriptions definitely resonate with those ideas. And the confused humans, the lost boy. It paints a picture of a realm where unresolved emotions and attachments hold sway. Maybe where parts of our own consciousness go during nightmares or intense negative states.
That's a thought. Or where people get stuck after death if they're confused or angry.
It fits the model many sources propose. But then beyond that is locale the third.
The more organized place.
Much more. Human-like inhabitants, structured societies, those weird self-powered vehicles, different histories, like parallel worlds almost.
And the merging experience happened there.
Yes, temporarily inhabiting another being's consciousness, accessing their memories and feelings. Ethically complex, as you said, but profoundly suggestive of shared consciousness fields.
And there were good guys, too. Helpers.
Absolutely. Benevolent helpers, a wise host offering aid and knowledge. It's not all darkness and danger. It's a spectrum.
Which again links to Wright's idea of different creations or constructs.
Exactly. And Anna Marie Adams, sensing that energetic shift around the dying, it all points to these other realities being constantly active, interacting with ours, especially at thresholds like birth and death, a whole complex ecosystem of consciousness.
It's vast. Which inevitably brings up warnings, right? Potential dangers beyond just getting scared.
Definitely. Monroe highlighted the social danger being ostracized, seen as crazy. A very real fear for people having experiences society doesn't validate. Many learn to keep quiet.
Leads to isolation. And the fear of not getting back. That felt real for Monroe.
Extremely real. That panic attack when he felt stuck, plastered against the barrier, unable to return, prayer not working. That's terrifying.
But the source from frequency goddesses, Ray, that was a different kind of danger. An ethical one.
A very stark one. His admission of lengthening his cord by using other people, other souls, calling it stealing.
And saying it would cause them to die. That's
Yep.
incredibly dark.
It is. Once you take another's cord, they are dead in a matter of seconds, he said. And the consequence for him, his ability to ascend further, was taken away.
Instant karma, almost, in the non-physical.
It suggests immediate energetic and ethical consequences for actions in those realms. A profound responsibility comes with that power. It's not a playground without rules.
And this whole idea of the body as just a temporary vehicle, while maybe reducing death fear, it underlines that responsibility, doesn't it? How you use the vehicle matters.
Absolutely. Which brings us to the cord itself, the silver cord.
Ah, yes, the famous connection. What's the consensus on that?
Well, it's widely reported across traditions and accounts, a perceived link between the physical and non-physical bodies. Monroe felt it physically.
How do you describe it?
Like a 2-inch thick cable made of hundreds, thousands of tendon-like strands coming from between his shoulder blades. Flexible, elastic, body warm. Very tangible to him in that state.
But is it literally real or psychological?
That's the debate. Monroe seemed to experience it as physically real. Campbell suggests it might be more of a coping mechanism, a belief manifested to provide security during separation.
Like a mental safety rope.
Possibly. Ray, from Frequency Goddesses, described it more subtly, something you feel on a spiritual level, see in a dream. Suggests maybe it's energetic, not quite physical.
So, literal tether or powerful symbol, it represents that vital link back to the physical.
Exactly. It's the constant reminder, however perceived, of the connection between consciousness exploring and its anchor in this reality.
These experiences, the realms, the ethics, it all spirals up to the biggest questions, doesn't it? Consciousness, divinity, our purpose.
It really does. And Darius Wright's perspective is so direct on this. His core idea is that we forget our full divinity here in this earthly construct.
The specific VR game level, maybe.
Right. And the journey isn't about learning new stuff so much as remembering who we truly are, reclaiming our ultimate authority as creators.
And love is key to that. Unconditional love.
He frames it as the fundamental creative force.
Wow.
Not just an emotion, but the power that shapes reality, pierces barriers. The weapon, as he puts it.
And fear is the opposite, the block.
Fear cuts us off from that creative field, keeps us small, keeps us forgetful.
What about judgment? Karma, hellfire.
Right is explicit. None of that exists on the other side in the way we imagine. No external judge, no cosmic scoreboard.
So how does it work? Accountability.
We judge ourselves. From that higher perspective, with access to all memories, all intentions, we see our actions with total clarity. The only unforgivable sin is the one you can't forgive yourself for.
Wow. Ultimate responsibility rests with the individual soul.
Completely. And Monroe, interestingly, came to similar conclusions through his explorations. He didn't find evidence for specific biblical ideas of God or heaven.
But he didn't dismiss religion entirely.
No, he speculated that what he did encounter, especially in Locale II, might be the raw basics that got distorted over centuries into specific religious doctrines.
The underlying reality filtered through culture.
Perhaps. And he thought if OBE knowledge became widespread, religious conflict might become impossible because people would see the bigger, multifaceted picture their particular faith is just one aspect of. And connecting this to the bigger picture, this isn't just about exploring other dimensions. It's about personal evolution, isn't it? A deep dive into the self.
How so?
These experiences are presented as an incredibly powerful tool for self-discovery, for understanding our true nature beyond the physical mask. They hammer home the true creative power of thought.
Making you take responsibility for your inner world.
Absolutely. Full responsibility for thoughts, intentions, because you see their immediate effects. And it pushes beyond belief, doesn't it?
Oh, massively. Direct experience trumps everything. Reading about it is one thing. Feeling yourself float free is another entirely. It shifts from intellectual idea to lived reality.
Exactly. It moves from belief or speculation to knowing. And it reveals the multidimensional nature of all life forms. Everything is energy, vibrating. Matter is just the densest, outermost layer.
The tiny portion of reality we normally perceive.
Right. And maybe the most profound impact is on how we view death.
How does it change that?
If you can consciously explore non-physical realms now, you're essentially scouting ahead. You're becoming familiar with the environment that will be your future home.
So death becomes less of a terrifying unknown.
It shifts from a dark void to a known transition, a familiar process. It provides potentially verifiable first-hand information about life after death.
Which must be incredibly comforting, transformative.
Immensely.
Yeah.
It led Monroe, after all his years of rigorous exploration, to the absolute conviction that the human personality does operate separate from the body and, crucially, survives physical death. That was his bottom line.
Wow. Okay, so this deep dive has taken us through some truly mind-bending territory. Out-of-body experiences. They're presented in our sources as real, natural shifts in consciousness.
Not just fantasy.
We've looked at potential neurological explanations like the TPJ, but also the counterview. Consciousness as primary, the brain as receiver in a vast multidimensional universe.
The VR model.
Exactly. We touched on the how-to, the vibrations, the separation techniques, the absolute power of thought in those realms. Even tools like Hemisync and their pros and cons.
And the warnings, too, the fear barrier, the social issues, the ethical pitfalls like was Ray's story.
Right. Plus the mystery of the silver cord and how all this forces us to reconsider consciousness, divinity, maybe even concepts like karma. It's about evolution, ultimately.
It really does seem to boil down to personal and perhaps collective evolution. And if we really connect this to the biggest picture, these deep dives into OBEs, they throw down a gauntlet, don't they? They challenge us. What if this everyday physical reality we take for granted? What if it's just one limited display, one channel on an infinite TV?
One interface for a much vaster, thought-responsive cosmos.
Exactly. And what if the real journey, the ultimate deep dive, isn't about gathering more facts about the world, but about directly experiencing and remembering our own boundless multidimensional nature?
Remembering who we are.
Which raises that crucial question for you, listening right now. What does it mean for your life today, right here, knowing that your consciousness might be so much bigger, so much more powerful, maybe even eternal, than you ever dared to imagine?
That's the question to sit with. And maybe the biggest danger isn't really in venturing out of body. Maybe the real risk is staying tethered only to the familiar, never truly exploring the boundless territory of your own consciousness, never remembering who and what you truly are.
You've been listening to The Inner Ascent, where growth begins from within. If today's reflection resonated with you, consider sharing it or revisiting it later. Until next time, stay aware, stay curious, and keep rising.